Let's go. And this is a supplemental shear, by which I mean, I was not planning originally giving it, but since we're here, what an opportunity. And whoever misses it, it's recorded. God willing, you'll watch it, you'll listen to it, you'll read it. We were learning a Mishnah on Nun Gimel Amud Bet, and that Mishnah had to do with Tekiyot shofar. How many sounds of the shofar Chatzotzrot would be heard on a daily basis in the Makam HaMikdash? The relevancy for our parak, because the sealing number would take place on Sukkot, and particularly on Chol HaMoed Sukkot, and particularly on Erev Shabbat Chol HaMoed Sukkot, as the highest number of shofar blasts that would be heard, Chatzotzrot blasts and the like. It's going to be a good segue for, God willing, our next Masechta, Rosh Hashanah, God willing, Haba Aleinu L'Tova. And I've been working on that actually already, because Haba Aleinu L'Tova. So on my vacation, that's what I do. What did you have for your summer vacation? I'm learning Gemara Rosh Hashanah. It's all good. But I'm also learning Sukka. We're still in the middle of that. And here in Parak Chalil, Daf Nun Dalet Amud Aleph, the Gemara is going to pick up with the discussion of we're going to dial back a little bit. It's line 4 in the Gemara in 54a that we'll be talking about the Machlok of Eliezer ben Yaakov, his girsa that appears here in the Gemara and the Mishnah, rather, as opposed to what we find earlier on in the Gemara Yuma. We'd already Sukkah, rather. We'd seen that already, and I'll review that, and then we're going to get into the Machloket. Rav Acha Bar Yaakov. We're going to get into that in terms of Rav Acha Bar Chanina, excuse me, in terms of questions about that claim. I guess before we do anything else, we really have to look at the Mishnah again. It's been a little while. 53b. I'm sorry to make you flip so many pages, but ein pochtin me'asrim ve'asrim ve'chad tekiyot b'mikdash ve'mosifin al arba'im u'shmona b'chol yom u'shmona. Period. Sorry, we don't have ever less than 21, and we don't ever have more than 48. B'chol yom hayu sham esrim ve'achat tekiyot b'mikdash. Every day there were 21. Shalosh le'ptichat sharim, 3 when they open the gates in the morning. V'teish l'tamid shel shachar. V'teish l'tamid sheben ha'arbayim. So 9 for the Korban tamid shel shachar, and right, keeping it tight. That's the 21, and another 9 for the tamid shel ben ha'arbayim. By the way, if you look at Rashi here on the Mishnah, the real one we need is teish l'tamid shel shachar. Shel menaschin, Rashi says, shel menaschin at nischei hatamid halavim omrim b'shir. When they would do the libations of the wine, that's when they would sing. Ushlosha prakim hayu b'shir sheyu mafsikin bo. There were 3 intervals within each shear.
Where do you see that?
I'm on Rashi at 53b.
Which one are you reading?
Teisha l'tamid shel shachar. On 53b, I skipped those. I could have done them, but we could have read those also. But what does it say when it ever refers to 21? What does it mean? It's a pshuta lefaneh, pshuta lachra, and a trua in the middle. That's considered 3 as far as the Mishnah is concerned. Rabbi Yehuda will disagree with Tanakama. That's what Rashi is. The first Rashi there says that there were 21 means 21 sounds. 3 of the 21 is a tekiah, trua, tekiah. So that was always the combination: trua, tekiah, trua each time. Sound familiar?
That's 3, not 1.
That's considered 3. Rabbi Yehuda has a different count. He thinks that equals 1 because it's a set. He thinks every line in the Machzor is 1,
Right.
even though it's 3 distinct sounds and the like. But Tanakama holds it's 3 distinct tekiyot. Yeah, I mean, this is all laying the ground. It turns out, like when we hear the shofar in Rosh Hashanah this year, only one of the 2 days, as we will discuss when we get to Masech Rosh Hashanah. But we're gonna hear the shofar. It's very special, amazing. But actually, in the Makom HaMikdash, it was every day, 21 times they would hear 21 blasts, not 100, 21, but every day. Yeah. So, in other words, in the Makom HaMikdash, hearing the shofar sounded is a question of degrees. It's not like it's a unique sound. We never heard this before. It's every single day.
Do they blow their Yom Kippur?
Every day.
Here we don't.
Every day.
Okay.
What do you mean, Erev Yom Kippur?
Erev Yom Kippur. Or
No, we don't listen to you anyway.
Erev Rosh Hashanah, rather. Erev Rosh Hashanah, we don't blow the shofar.
Yeah, right. Okay, yeah, it seems like we do.
Okay.
Seems like we do, yeah. And then the Mikdash, I mean, 21, yeah.
They blew it every day.
Even Shabbos, even Shabbos, even on Yom Kippur, in fact, every day. It was connected with the avoda though.
Right.
So 21 sounds on the regular weekdays. So okay, so fine. Now back to I'll do that Rashi again. The Dibra Matchil, Teisha, the Tamid Shal Shachar. Shehayu Menaschin at Nische HaTamid Halvim Omri Bashir, Ushlosha Prakim Bashir, Shemafsikin Bo Token or Kohan B'Chatzotzrot. So the song would be sung while they were doing the libation of the wine to accompany the Korban. And while they're pouring it in, they stop at 3 intervals. They break. And when they break, they would have the Kohanim blow the Chatzotzrot. And what would happen? Umishtachavim ha'am. Everyone would bow down when they heard the sound of the Chatzotzrot each time. Kidetanam Masechet Tamid. Higula Perek, Taku. V'ishtachavu ha'am. Al kol Perek, Tekiyot. V'al kol Tekiyot, Hishtachavaya. V'al kol Tekiyot, Haitatrua ba'enzo, Pshut l'faneh u'la'achareh. It's a lot of bowing down in the Makom Mikdash. So there again, we assume and expect that Wednesday Hishtachavaya, Yom Kippurim, they heard the Shema Meforash. No, according to the Masechet Tamid, quote here in Rashi, every time they heard the sound of the Tekiyah, it was Chatzotzrot, not Shofar, but they heard it, they're bowing down every time.
So we don't know what they were singing. Was it a niggin? Was it actually words?
So the Gemara and the Gemara Rosh Hashanah tells us the Shishal Yom.
What?
You know what the Shishal, you have the Shishal Yom. We say it. We say the Shishal Yom every day, and then we say the Mishnah on Shabbos and Yom Tov. We have that Mishnah that we say toward the end of davening. Hashir Shayul Hayu Omer Veda Mikdash, etc. It gives you each day. From Rishon saying it. Pardon?
What they were singing.
The tune.
Yeah, the tune. I'm curious what.
Yeah.
No, we don't have.
Make a new one. Make up a new one. The musical family. No, we don't know. We don't know the tune. We don't have.
It tells you according to what. I gave it a shot.
Oh yeah. But we know what. Yeah, we think it's musical notation, but we don't know Lam Natzach Lashminit, all these different lines. But we don't know the actual nigunim.
I would take care of Shir, I think the song, but maybe I'm not thinking about it right. Maybe it's just.
It's a song. No, it's a song. Shir could mean a poem, but it means here a song. They sang it. It was musical, and yeah.
Maybe Shari will come up with a new song.
Maybe Shari will come up with a new song. Right. That's what people loved it. I will say more seriously, from the Bell School of Music, I don't remember who it was from the Bell School of Music University who claimed that the core, like, of the Nusach on Yom Noraim has antecedents. I don't know on what basis it claimed it, that it's somehow it's related. Some part of that, some theme there is from the Beit HaMikdash. I think it might be based on the Maharil, 14th century Germany. He has
not Germany.
that the Nigunim should not be changed. You should not tamper with the Nusach. And I think he's the one who makes the claim that goes all the way back to the Mikdash. Now, how do we know that we have the same Nigunim that they had in the 14th century in Germany? I don't know. But we know some of this Nigunim go way back. Judy, you want to say something? I'm sorry.
Yes, 2 weeks ago, I was in the graveyard of a Maharil in Worms. Yes, sir.
Wow.
I spent...
My face of shock is on everybody's face here in the room.
I spent 9 days with a group from the Hebrew University, and we visited primarily the Shum,
Yeah, Speyer Words Magensa, yeah.
That's right.
Wow.
And in Worms, I had the honor of standing in the synagogue where Rashi davened.
Yeah, the Rashi Shul and they claim it's a seat.
Had to renovate it after the Nazi made storage out of it or something, but it's the structure is the same as it was.
Okay.
And
we're learning Rashi, and we talked about the Maharil. There you have it.
And beside the Maharil, also Meor HaGola.
Rabbeinu Gershom or Agola, yeah, sure.
Is buried there too. It's a UNESCO in Worms. The Jewish cemetery is a UNESCO place.
That's remarkable.
The electronic thing of all the
amazing. Okay, don't tell us anymore because we're going to take a mission. We're going to have to go to Worms all together.
Okay, well, it's part.
We're learning a Black Gemara there, like we're learning a Black Gemara here. Let's move on.
But I also say that Even HaTkiyah, they found it in the excavations of Har HaBayit.
Okay. It's where they would stand. Thank you.
But it's from second
Thank you. Yeah, Second Temple. I don't know. We're in a Mishnayos over here. I don't. It doesn't tell us about that. I want to say one other thing, which, by the way, does come up later on. You just jogged my memory about this. While the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah does tell us the Shir Shel Yom each day, we have the Shir Shel Yom of Shabbat, obviously, in that. We don't know the Shir Shel Yom on the Moadim. We know Rosh Hashanah, but we don't know the Moadim.
We know the Moadim and based upon the Sephardic Musaf, but you have to say specific.
Really?
Yeah, because for
Okay,
example,
there you have it.
for Pesach,
But Ashkenazim don't
we
have it.
have Yom Bukei Hashem, Psalm 107. For
Oh, wow.
Shavuot, they recite 68.
Wow. So that's in the Masorah. That's not in the Gemara. That's not in the Gemara. Amazing. Thank you. Thank you. That's amazing.
Did they do those in addition to the day of the week one or instead of the day of the week?
That's part of the discussion in Masachet Rosh Hashanah on the last parak, when they didn't know what to do. Is it a weekday? Is it Rosh Hashanah? What if it happened to be a Thursday? So what are they going to do? Differentiate it, etc. But coming attractions, you have to come back. The Mishnah says we have the weekday. This is what we're going to do every day of the week. And then it points out that when there's Musaf, there's going to be another 9. That's what's mentioned in the Mishnah. Next line of the Mishnah, Uva Musafin, Hayumosifin Otesha. You'd have another 9, right? An addition, right? It would be another, the Shir Shel Musafin. So that's the question, as Art's pointing out. Like, does that mean Rosh Chodesh? There's Musaf. So it's a weekday and it's Musaf. So is there a song for Rosh Chodesh specifically? Shir Shel Rosh Chodesh? We kind of have one a little bit. Bar Kanafsi, maybe? Yeah, I don't know enough about the history of Bar Kanafsi to know if that's the case. Right. You could break that in several places for sure. That be broken 3 times. Every shir was broken 3 times, not 9 times, 3 times, because it was each time they would have 3 sounds in between. Everyone would bow down and continue. Ube'erev Shabbat hayu mosifin sheish. Shalosh lahavtil et ha'am mimalacha, v'shalosh lahavdil ben kodesh l'chol. Remember, we learned about that on Erev Shabbat. That's not related to Korbanot. That's just to tell people what's happening. I mentioned to you at the corner of this, at the southwest corner of the Har HaBayit. We know where the person stood. We have the piece that was thrown down, and it's in the Israel Museum, and the replica is there at the spot where they found it. That mentions the blowing of the shofar. But I don't want to go into more history. Let's keep going because we have very limited time. We didn't open the Gemara yet. We're just reviewing. Erev Shabbat Shebetoch HaChag, Hayusham Arba'im U'Shmona. That's 48. When it's Erev Shabbat, that's in the middle of Sukkot. Why 48? Shalosh L'Ptichat Sharim, Shalosh L'Shar HaElyon, Shalosh L'Shar HaTachton, V'Shalosh L'Milu HaMayim, V'Shalosh L'Gabe Mizbeach. So 3 at the top of the steps, not the opening of the gates. That's the daily, but 3 at the top of the steps where they're going to go down to get the water. 3 at the Shar HaElyon, 3 when they got to the bottom gate, 3 when they filled up the water. And it probably really means when they came back to the Shar HaMayim, and 3 Al Gabe Mizbeach. We had that conversation last time. What does Al Gabe Mizbeach mean? Right? So, okay. Teishlu Tamid Shel Shachar, Teishlu Tamid Ben Abayim, Teishlu Musafin, Shalosh Lahavtil Ra'am Min Amalacha, Shalosh Lahavtil Ben Kodesh Lechol. All of that is the ceiling number, 48. And then the Gemara went into a thing. By the way, Rabbi Yehuda doesn't agree because he thinks that 3 is really 1 because he thinks you take each line of it, each set equals 1. But okay, that was our conversation then. Now we'll go to the Gemara on Nun Daled Amid Aleph, which is what we had already done last time. It's still Chazara. What?
Is that after Shabbos or is that going into Shabbos?
It's going into Shabbos.
So it should really be Lahavdil ben Chol Kodesh.
Yeah, Taka. All right. Yeah, point well taken.
But why is
You
that
have
different
to one of them.
from the one of Lahavdil ben Hamalacha? Doesn't it have
That's a
to
couple of
the
hours
same time?
before.
Earlier in the day. It's early in the day until we'll go home.
I'll close the store.
Yeah, here, look at the second to last line, third to last line of the narrow lines of Rashi on Nun Gimel Amid Bet, Shlosha Lahavtil Ami Malacha, Kinofarish B'Shili B'Mam Madlikin, Ben Kodesh L'Chol, wide line of Rashi, top line, Shekiresh Hayom L'Hodia Shechashecha, V'yesh Me'ata Chiv Skila B'Malacha. But the original one was everyone should go home. It's closing time. Close the marketplace in Yerushalayim, etc. Yeah. Okay. So if you after they blew that shofar, it'd be chayav skila for malacha. So yeah, to avoid that. Okay. Gemara Nun Daled Amid Aleph. Erev Shabbat Shebetoch HaChag. We learned this already. This is again review, but we need it in order to get to the point of the novel point for tonight. The new Gemara. V'il Lamala Sirit Lo Katane. Matnitin Mane, Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov he, right? If you look in the Mishnah, when it mentioned 48 blasts on Erev Shabbos which is Erev Shabbos Chol Hamoed Sukkos, it didn't mention blowing the shofar on the 10th step. And we had learned that previously in the Mishnah. It described that. So the Gemara says, well, that's this Mishnah, 53b, follows the opinion of Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. The Tanya, he says, Shalosh Lamala Asirit, Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov Omer, Shalosh Agabe HaMizbeach. He doesn't think it's related to the Mala Asirit. He thinks it's upon the Mizbeach. What does Al Gabi Mizbeach mean? There was a discussion with last time. Does it mean the pouring of the water on the Mizbeach? Does it mean going up to the Mizbeach? Does it mean when they're putting the Arava, leaning it on the Mizbeach? That Al Gabi Mizbeach with different ideas. So the point is, Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov had disagreed previously with this idea not so long ago on, what was it, 51b, the Mishnah had given us a whole list of things to do, and it mentioned it, the Mala Asirit. So the Gemara here is saying, well, wait a minute, this Mishnah doesn't mention the Mala Asirit. On the 10th step, there are 15 steps from the Shar Nikanor, which is on the level of the Azara, or almost on the level of the Azara, the Ezrat Yisrael, and then to Ezrat, the Azara proper. So that's the Shar Nikanor, the 15 steps down to the Ezrat Nashim, so named, even though it was really men and women, other than when they were actually doing things, in which case there was the balcony for the women, etc. But okay, but they call it that. So Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov says, no, I disagree. So Omer Lamala Asirit Eino Omer Gabi Mizbeach, Omer Al Gabi Mizbeach Eino Omer Lamala Asirit. You can hold one or the other, but you're not going to hold both. Asks the Gemara. My time at Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. What's the rationale of Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov that he says you don't blow the shofar in the 10th step? Came in the Tukka Ptichat Sha'arim Lamala Asirit Lamali. Yeah. Lamali the Taka. Sorry, why is he blowing the shofar again? You blow the shofar when you open the gate, the Shar Nikanor, or he's standing at the top of the Shar Nikanor to go down the steps to the bottom step, and you're going to blow the shofar at the bottom gate when you're going to leave the Harabayit area. Okay, all good, or leaving the Beit HaMikdash, let's say. But Lamali the Taka, High Love Sharhu. It's not really a gate. Just a step, random, 10. So it's better to do it, therefore, Al Gabe HaMizbeach. Right? For Rabbanan Savre, the Rabbanan disagree, and they say, you have to do it at a time still related to the Milui Hamayim, the extra blasts that you have. The shofar, extra for Sukkot, relate specifically to the act of Nisuch Hamayim, the going to get the water, the bringing back of the water, but why wait for the Mizbech? What's that related to? Yeah. So Hilkach Lamala Asirit Adif. Therefore, the 10th step is better. We had seen previously why the 10th step and not the 11th step or the 4th step. A whole arichas about why that is. I don't want to open that discussion again. We'll take too long, if you will. All right. So that was the gist of it. We'd already learned previously a little bit of the Rishonim about this, but okay. The number of Tekiyot related to the Nisuch Hamayim are 12. 3 at the top of the steps, 3 at the 10th step, 3 when they leave, and 3 when they come back. Or 3 at the top step, Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, 3 at the top step, 3 at the bottom step as it's leaving, 3 at the gate when they come back, and 3 on the Al Gabe Mizbeach, whatever that means. Again, a discussion about when that's relevant. It's somehow related to Nisuch Hamayim, somehow. We're not going into it again now. It'll take too long. Now we go to the new Gemara we did not see previously. All this review, can you imagine? 20 minutes review. But otherwise it makes no sense. Rav Acha bar Chanina midaroma aitim matnita biyadei. When Rav Acha bar Chanina came from Eretz Yisrael, he brought the following limud in his hand, the following braita, essentially. It's called the matnita, but it's really a braita. And just to consider, of course, that this is the nature of communication back in the day. People are coming with the information. Baseichel, they're explaining, I heard this, I was in the base madrash in Eretz Yisrael, they said this, they're trying to piece it together, yeah? So in the Torah, in Parashat Baalotcha, we read, Uvenei Aaron HaKohanim Yitkeu B'chatzotzrot, right? So we learned that they're going to blow the shofar, and they're going to be in charge of the tekiah, fine, and it's specifically the shofar, the chatzotzrot, sorry.
Well, we have a pasuk in the Rosh Hashanah davening. The Katem Bachar Road.
It's this.
Yeah.
So, it's the next. We're going to get to that. She'ein Talmud Lomer Yitkeu Shekvar Nemar. It doesn't really mean they should blow the shofar because we already have that elsewhere. And where is that? in a pasuk that's actually 2 psukim later, it's much more explicit about when they're supposed to do it, under what circumstance, how it's related to the avoda. And that pasuk in its entirety, because it's in the margin of my Gemara, uv'yom simchatchem, uv'moadechem, uv'rashei chadshechem. It's a lot of different times. Your time of simcha, and your holiday, and your Rosh Chodesh, utkatem b'chatzotzrot, al olotechem, v'al zivchei shalmeichem. Everybody knows it from the Musaf, from our green. Yeah, it's funny. That's funny. Okay, but that's the pasuk. It's pasuk from Pashat Balotcha. And the point is, this is very specific. It tells the Kohanim going to blow a shofar regarding korbanot, specifically korbanot musaf. The drasha, by the way, and Yom Simchatchem, very interesting. I think it's in the Sifri this way. It says it refers to Shabbos. It's like, is there a din of simcha on Shabbos? So that might be what the nusach is. Yes, but it's not simcha. There's a din of simcha v'samach v'chagech on Yom Tov and not on Shabbos. So what's the nusach? Yismechu v'malchutcha shamrei Shabbat v'korei oneg, coming on the heels of the description of the korban. Why? Because the simcha of Shabbos is not direct. It's not a din of simcha, but through oneg Shabbat one gets to a certain sense of simcha as well. So it's kadam chatzrol teichem al zivchei shalmeichem. So we have that. It's written right there. Umat tamad lomar yitkeu. So why did it say previously yitkeu a 2 psukim earlier? Hakol afia musafim token. Everything goes according to the musafim. We don't know what that means. Hu tanila, who amarla. He was the one who brought it to Bavel. He taught it and he explained it. Here's how it goes. Lomar shetoken al kol musaf umusaf. Every time there's a musaf, if there are multiple musafs, it's Shabbos and Rosh Chodesh. Yeah, you're gonna have blow 9 blasts for each korban musaf. That's what he brought from Eretz Yisrael to Bavel. So the Gemara now asks, well, wait a second. What about our Mishnah? Tnan erev Shabbat shebetoch hachag hayusham memchet. Ita. If that's true, if he's correct, so litni Shabbat shebetoch hachag mishkach al chamishim v'chad. Do you understand why? Because now Shabbos, the extra korban. So you're gonna add more Tekiyos. So it's not going to be 48. We're up to 51 now because there's 2 musafs for Yom Tov and for Shabbos. But we don't do that. Or if we do that, it's how come the Mishnah left it out? So they're asking Rav Acha Bar Chanina, what exactly do you bring from Eretz Yisrael? This isn't really accurate. It can't be accurate because it contradicts a Mishnah, Mefurasha. Rav Acha Bar Chanina is already an Amora. So he brings it from Eretz Yisrael. They're asking him, something doesn't add up on what you're teaching. What are you saying? This you must be mistaken. It can't be.
Could it be in the Yerushalmi? Is that a dumb question?
It's not a dumb question at all. No, not a dumb question. Don't forget. The Yerushalmi is a transcript. The Bavli is a transcript. The Yerushalmi is a transcript from earlier. The Bavli is a transcript that just finishes later. The Yerushalmi is focused on the Torah of Eretz Yisrael. The Bavli is focused on the Torah, obviously, of Bavel, but it also includes a lot of the Torah of Eretz Yisrael. There's conduits back and forth. There's constant caravans going back and forth. The Chachamim going back and forth and bringing information. But what's fascinating here is, they say to him, you can't contradict the Mishnah. See, a bright does something's wrong with it. It can't. It's 51, not 48. Something's wrong. You're adding Musaf. You're going to throw in another 3. It's very nice, but can't do it. They would add it in somehow, but it's not going to work. By the way, why is it 51 and not 48 plus 9? Well, 48 plus 3. But if you look at Musaf, it said Musaf would it be 9? Musaf and Musifin Otesha.
Who said that it's only 3 to 1? Was it Rabbi? Who said he counted it was only 3?
Oh, that's Rabbi Yehuda.
Rabbi Yehuda.
He's got 3 as 1. But I'm just saying. Wait, Jeff has a question. Jeff, give me 1 second. This is solve for this, right? You follow the math? Yeah, Jeff, what do you want to say?
Because the 6 going up and down the steps for Sukkot, for the water drawing. So you add 9 and it's
12.
6.
You're missing 12 because of the water drawing, actually. 3 at the top of the steps, 3 at the bottom of the steps, 3 at the drawing of the water, and 3 al gabe mizbeach. Or it's 3 at the top, 3 on the steps to go at the 10th step, 3 at the bottom of the steps, and 3 when you fill up the water, meaning when you come back to the Shar HaMayim. That's 12 also. So from your 48, you're down 12, right? Down 12. You follow? 36. You're gonna add the 9 of 45. And then there's the other 6 for the onset of Shabbos. I think the other 6 onset of Shabbos is the 51. That's what it says. It's saying 51. That's what it's claiming. So he's just saying if you look in Rashi, I think Rashi gives it to us here if I'm not mistaken. Token. No, I think I'm still token. B'mefarish la demaya kol afi musafin kedamrinan shetoken kumas musaf yom sheyesh bo shtei kedusha kedon Shabbat v'yom tov v'tzarach shnei musafin token lechol musaf shomer musaf Shabbat musaf Shabbat shish Shabbat the token teisha Tekiyot l'shlosh prakim musaf yom tov shish yom tov token teisha. Oh, it's 9. It's 9 for 9 for Shabbos, 9 for Yom Tov, so that's 18, and then the 21 of the 21 of the regular day. It's 39. Trying to remember how they got up there, because on Shabbos there isn't going to be the 12 of the how do they get to 51? Memched. Sorry, Tanan. Erev Shabbos Tochachag Yusham Memched V'im Ita Litnei Shabbat Tochachag Shkal Chamishim V'chad. How to get to Chamishim V'chad? I'm trying to remember how it got there, because what the Gemara does next is Amar Bizel If Shein Tokin Leftichat She'arim B'Shabbat. They don't blow the shofar to open the gates on Shabbos, so that's going to bring you down by 3 to 48. But how are we back at 48? It's 21 the regular.
Right, 9 for Shabbos, Musaf. 9 for the.
Wait a second.
9 for Yom Tov, Musaf, and 12 for the water drawing. That's what.
There's no water drawing on Shabbos. There's no water drawing on Shabbos. There just isn't. Oh, I think that's the next Gemara. That's why I'm confusing this, because it's actually in the Gemara. Keep going in the Gemara. Amar Rava man had lo chash lekimcha. Rava says to Rabbi Zera, that's not a good answer to solve the problem, because it's an expression meaning like you don't care what kind of flour, wheat you're putting into the mill. Like it's too coarse what you're saying, right? How come?
I think I missed something, Rabbi.
Tell me. B'Shabbat. The 3, that's 3 less. 51 minus 3 is 48.
Right. That's what Rabbi Zera was explaining.
Rabbi Zera was explaining. I missed that part. Rabbi Zera was saying, don't think there's a problem. I'm trying to figure out how did Rav Acha bar Yaakov, once Rav Acha bar Chanina said that, for every Musaf you're going to do, you're going to do 9. So somehow we got from 40, the one that would be on Shabbos, Shabbos Chol HaMoed Sukkos, which is not 48, it's 48 less 12, because you don't have the Nisuch HaMayim, right? So you up to 36 and 36, but then you have the extra 9 for the it's 45. So I'm asking, that's what you're asking. How do you get to 51? It must be the 6th of Shabbos, but the 6th of Shabbos will be the night before. Do you have it? Please help me.
Okay, 21 every day, 9 for Shabbos Musaf,
Right.
9 for Yom Tov Musaf, and 12 for the water.
It says 12 for the water?
Mhm.
Oh, because that's going to be the way out.
That's what we just finished.
I know. Now, Rava says to Rabbi Zera, you can't say that it's not 51. You can't. It's not 51 on that Shabbos, because they didn't blow the 3 blasts at the beginning of the day to open the gates of the Beis HaMikdash. They didn't do that on Shabbos. They just didn't. So he says, so we didn't do it. So that's what he says to Rabbi Zera. That's not going to solve the problem. Ella, so he says
there was no water on Shabbos.
That's what I'm going to. That's the next piece. Yeah, that's the next piece. There isn't a Nisuch HaMayim on Shabbos, right?
We'll get it.
Well, let's get there. That's why I'm also, as you can see, I'm clearly not it's not sharp in my mind either. I'm thinking, wait a second, this was clear in my mind before. I somehow confused myself. So right, right? Because there isn't going to be a Nisuch Hamayim on Shabbos. Remember, they don't do the whole ceremony. That's the whole thing. They prepare the water before because they don't want to violate Shabbos. They're worried about it, and that's why there's no Simchas Beit Shoeva. Remember? All right, let's keep going. Let's see if I can figure it out. We'll figure it out together. It's a collaborative effort tonight. Where are we? No, sorry, I went too far. Yeah. So Rabbi Zera said what he said. I'm a Rava criticized him. He said, you're not being careful with your flour that you're making. Chada, first of all, it says specifically every day, without exception, there were 21 Tekiyot shofar in the Beit HaMikdash, meaning 3 on the beginning of the day to open the gates. On Shabbos, they also blew shofar. He disagrees with Rabbi Zera's characterization that on Shabbos they didn't open the gates of the Beit HaMikdash in the morning with three sounds. He doesn't know that absolutely they did. That's what the Mishnah in fact says. V'od inami kehadadininhu. If you want to make the claim that let's assume that you're right, that for every Musaf there's going to be another 9 blasts. So inami kadadinu, if you even want to say that, litnei Shabbat shebetoch hachag hayu sham 48 dishma min atarte, then the Mishnah should have used that as the example with 48, because we would have learned 2 things. Shema min Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, we would have learned like Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, who held that it's 3 al gabe mizbeach and not on the 10th step, because there is no 10th step, since they're not going out to get the water, since they already got the water before, right? And this has something to do with actual nisuch, but not the going to get it. I believe that's what it is. If you look at Rashi, the Hasham Inan Mina Tarte Shmat Mina Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, Rashi writes, I'm 15 lines up from the bottom of Rashi on Nun Dalem Rav. They talking Lamala Asirit Ela Gabi Mizbech Gedek Amar Lahu V'Azil Shamina Minei the Rabbi Acha the Tokin Al Kol Musaf the Ilu Shlosha Lahavdil the Gimel Lahavdil Ashmin and Beresha V'Amai Shavka V'Tana Erev Shabbat V'Loshmin and Milta Charata Ella the Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov L'Chuda. So basically, it is incorporating the 6. The 6 that we're missing from 45 to 51 is the 6 of the onset of Shabbos. You could quibble with it, right? Because it's really on Friday. Yeah. We counted on Friday, so we counted on Shabbos. They don't blow the shofar again on Shabbos 6 times. Extra to tell people not to malacha. Then on Friday. Seems to be an assumption of, at least as far as Rashi is concerned. And Rava says, aside from the claim that you're saying that the 3 are not sounded, Rabbi Zera, it's not true. It is actually, according to the Mishnah, the 3 to open the gate of the Beit HaMikdash every day was without exception. So that's not going to work. You can't find your 3 there. But it could have actually said 48 on Shabbos, 48 on Shabbos, which is Shabbos Chol HaMoed. And then we would have learned 2 things. Number 1, that we follow Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, not the 10th step going down, but our Galit Mizbeach, because it probably has something to do with what's happening on the Mizbeach itself. Ushmat Mina, the Rav Acha Bar Chanina. It would have been clear that Rav Acha Bar Chanina is correct, but obviously he's not. So Ela Amarava, here we are, bingo. Lefisha Ein Tokin, Lamilo Emayim, B'Shabbat, the Batzri Tuva. Because the truth is, says Rava, on Shabbos, Chol HaMoed, Sukkot, they don't do the Nisuch HaMayim. They don't go and fill up the water, I should say, do the Nisuch, but they don't do the filling. It's filled up before. Therefore, there's no Simcha Beit Shoeva on Shabbos, and therefore we're short. A lot of blasts, 12 are missing, right? So that's the numbers. So then the Gemara says, okay, so you know what you could have included, which you're going to have according to Rav Acha Bar Chanina is correct. Then you know what really should have been included. What really should have been included is Rosh Hashanah Shechal Liyot B'Shabbat. The Litnei Nami Rosh Hashanah Shechal Liyot B'Shabbat. Deha'ika Tflata Musafin. Musaf de Rosh Hashanah. Musaf de Rosh Chodesh. Musaf de Shabbat. By the way, I'll throw in a liturgical note over here. We spend a lot of time with liturgy and minhag. In the Machzer, Rosh Hashanah, it actually will say in Musaf, it'll actually say Musfei
Right.
Specifically, I've noticed, without mentioning names, over the years, some of the minyanim that I've davened in, I'm not saying it's even in our shul, they've messed it up and said Musaf of Rosh Hashanah. It's Musfei because there's two elements going on.
Even on a week.
Exactly, even on a week, right? Even on a weekday.
By the way, even on Shabbat, when we say Atayat Sarta, it's in there too.
Well, that's of course Musfei because it's Shabbos Rosh Chodesh. But my point is, when it's a weekday and it's Rosh Hashanah, it's not a misprint in the Matzah. It's Musfei, Rosh Hashanah and Rosh Chodesh, both. And says the Gemara here, okay, and if it's Shabbos, you'd have to have all three, right? So that would be a lot, right? Because that would be alone. That's start adding up. Musaf 9. Wow, that's 27 right there. That's a tremendous number, right? So right, Musaf the Rosh Hashanah, was the Rosh Chodesh, was the Shabbat. So the Gemara says, yeah, okay, that's true. So you know what? Erev Shabbat Shabbat Chag. It's Tzarich Leilash Minik Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, right? So it had to talk about what it talked about in our Mishnah. Why to give that example? In order to teach the way of Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, the Gemara says, really? Atu mika amar litneha, yeah, litneha, v'litneha. So what? Why couldn't you include both? They ran out of ink. So let's give both examples. One would have taught us about Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov. The other would have taught us about what happens on Shabbos, Rosh Hashanah, Shabbos, Rosh Chodesh. They're all three things, obviously, at the same time happening. So the Gemara answered, no, ton of a shiur. It's an example was given in the Mishnah, but there are other examples. There are times that there are more, an equal number of Tekiyot, than 48. My shiur, the high shiur Erev HaPesach. Erev Pesach is a perfect example. When you turn the page, Rashi gives us the example. What is Erev HaPesach being referred to here? Look at Rashi explains. In Erev Pesach, Sheish B'Shchitat Pesach Chav Zayin Tekiyot, 27 Tekiyot that happened. Why? Pesach Nishchat Begimel Kitot, 3 different classes, meaning 3 groups, 3 sections that would come during the day. If Erev Pesach couldn't accommodate everybody. Kat Achar Kat. Kedamar B'Tamid Nishchat, and Perak Tamid Nishchat and Pesachim explains they came in 3 different groups in the morning. B'chol Kat Kor'ah et Hallel Gimel Pa'amim. Every group read the Hallel 3 times. Shahayu Pischei and Merubin. By the way, they were saying Hallel when this was happening. V'hayu Te'unin Hallel b'shchitatan. V'lo mafsikim lishchot Pischam Kol Kat v'Kat Ad Shikra'u Shalosh Pe'amim. Every group they had to read through the Hallel 3 times. And at the beginning of each time that they would read it, they would blow the shofar 3 sounds. So v'afa gav the Tanan Hatam af bishalo shileshu mehen hainu lo gamru pam shlishit kulo. Even though it's true that on the 3rd kat, the 3rd of the 3 groups, the 3rd group they didn't finish it that time. In other words, it would taper off. There were fewer people in the 3rd session of Amiyu in Kachlo Haita Gomarto Shtei Pa'amim. Right, but nonetheless, at least finished twice. Umatchalat bo pam shlishit vein chasim in atkiyot klum. Shebitchilat kriyat token v'chol kriya gimel tekiyot. At the beginning of each reading, they would read 3. So even if they wouldn't finish, they at least would start that Hallel. So they would say 3, and it would end up with 27. So the Gemara here at the top, Nun Daladam and Bet, challenges it. Imishum Erev Pesach lav shiurahu dahamani Rabbi Yehudahi. No, the truth is, our Mishnah didn't include Erev Pesach. You know why? Because it follows not the Tanakama, but Rabbi Yehuda. What does Rabbi Yehuda hold? That actually the Amar Miyameim Shokach Lishit Lo Egil Omar Ahavti Ki Yishma Hashem Mipnei Shalo Mipnei Shahayu Ama Mu'atin. It never got to Ahavti of the first reading of the 3rd section. So what does Rashi write here? Lo Egil Ahavti. Follow your eye there to the left-hand side. Rashi Shel Kriya Rishona Ve'im Ba'ela Gimel Tekiyot. The whole Hazara got filled up with that section of people, so they would finish Hallel 3 times. But in the 3rd one, and there wasn't enough in the Shechita of the Pesach to go for the reading of 3 Hallels. Right? This means that they didn't get to a Hafti. At least according to Rabbi Yehuda. Not like the Tanakh, according to the Rabbi Yehuda, they never got to Hallel 3 times for the 3rd kat, the 3rd group that came. They didn't even finish the 1st one. So the Gemara has raised this idea, and it points out, right? V'ha'amart Reisha Dillo. That's what the note tells me. It's not Hokimna, but V'ha'amart Reisha Dillok Rabbi Yehuda. The Reisha of the Mishnah, you might recall, that said that we have 21 blasts every day. Remember? Then the Gemara, the first Gemara, which we didn't learn this time, we learned it last. We learned Rabbi Yehuda says it's not 21, it's 7. Remember? He divided everything by 3. So how could you quote Rabbi Yehuda here and say that it follows Rabbi Yehuda? And because it follows Rabbi Yehuda, therefore it didn't mention the Tekiyot on Rosh Hashanah, an Erev Pesach, excuse me, right? So the Gemara says, all right, yeah, this Tana, the Tana Kama, meaning the Tana, whose name we do not have, right? The anonymous Tana over here in our Mishnah. Okay, it didn't hold like Rabbi Yehuda with regard to Tekiyot, how many there are. He called it 21, not 7. But maybe he did agree with Rabbi Yehuda, the Erev Pesach. You did agree with Rabbi Yehuda that you don't have so many Tekiyot, right? So Elamai Shir Dahai Shir. So the point is, so the Gemara says, okay, so then what was actually left out, right? Shir Erev HaPesach Shechaliot Be'erev Shabbat Apik Sheet V'Ayel Sheet. It left out the Erev Pesach that falls on the Erev Pesach that falls on an Erev Shabbos, right? You may be missing 6 blasts because the last 2 Hallels that were not going to be recited,
Right.
because they didn't need it, but they had 6 extra blasts. Why? Because Erev Shabbos. But Tanav Shir means we gave you one example. We don't have to be exhaustive about it. Another example could have been the example of Rosh Hashanah, Shechal v'Shabbat, and another example is this. Now, why do I have to come up with 2? Because if you give me one example of something in a Mishnah and there's only one other example, it's a question: why did you give me one and not the other? But if there are 2 or more other examples, then you could argue it was an example out of a set. Follow? So and that's how the Gemara leaves it. I actually really mistakenly thought we were going to finish Nadal and would bet tonight. Kind of a joke. Huh? You finish the Hallel, start again. Yeah. Yeah.
Then they kicked him out.
Yeah.
They
They ran out of people. They didn't have enough people after the third one. They didn't have enough people. Yeah. That's it. That's all we have time for tonight. This was a summer special. We were really on a summer hiatus, so it wasn't supposed to happen. But we got it. The next year will be in August. At some point.
Okay, at some point in August.
That was just like leaving it open-ended. I'm not going to be here. Anyway, okay, but we'll have it a chance. Zyga benched, everybody.